Hey, what's up guys? This is Jonathan Withem from the Drum Lab, and today I'm going to give you a brief tutorial on playing cajon. What usually happens with people when they transition from drum set to cajon, and I'm mainly talking to those guys and gals that play drum set and then on a certain week or a certain gig they need to play cajon because either the stage is small or just volume-wise they need to keep it down and they want to have more of a stripped set. Typically with playing cajon, that transition, most people miss out on some important details that help you have the best tone and feel possible and can make you almost seem like you haven't lost any ground going from kit to cajon. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So the first step to getting good tone out of our cajon is starting with small steps, not trying to jump in with a full groove. Typically most people when they're playing cajon, they don't think of the most important two tones that they can get out of it. For a drummer, your two most important drums are your kick and snare. This does not change for cajon. So we're going to focus on our kick tone and our snare tone. Number one, we're going to focus on the kick tone. Most people assume that a cajon kick tone is best in the dead center of the drum. It's actually up a little higher, and I'm going to demo that right now. Now you can tell you get a full spectrum of tone when you do it that way. You get it's not as deep as a kick drum, but you still are establishing a nice rich full timbre with that deep fundamental underneath. Now I'm going to go a little lower so you can hear the difference. I'm going to go back and forth between the less than desirable kick tone, lower, and the one I just did earlier. As you can tell, when we go from the one lower on the drum to the one higher, the one lower is more muffled. It doesn't have as much of that sonic spectrum that you kind of want when dealing with a different instrument. You're going to want to have the lows and the low mids and maybe even a touch of mids in there. First part is understanding where on the front plate to play the kick. Next is understanding what to do with our hand. Most people when they play cajon, they just start hitting it and they don't really think through what's needed to get that nice rich tone. I want you to, when you do this for the first time, make sure your hand is flat and relaxed. By relaxed, I mean trying to make sure that, kind of like when dribbling a basketball, how your hand is relaxed, but I want it to be flat. The reason being I want it to be flat, I don't want it to be in any way morphed, is because if you push your hand out like this, all the bones are going to come to the surface of your hand, and you're actually going to get a very brittle, non-thumpy tone. When you place your hand flat, you get more of the meaty flesh and the bones retract a little bit and you're able to get a nice tone. Now, I don't want it to be this because then you're going to get that brittle tone, and I don't want it to be this. I don't want you to cup it. I want your hand to be completely flat. Now, I'm going to demo with a mallet kind of the difference between if you have your hand flat and relaxed or if you kind of have it bent this way and the bones are towards the surface. So here's how it kind of sounds just to give you an idea. Now you can see when playing with the mallet side, it's much more relaxed. It has a nice warm sound. When playing with the tip of the stick, it's very brittle. And this is actually a fair representation of what happens with our hand. Now I'm going to demo with my hand the same exact thing. As you can see, when our hand is relaxed, we get that nice, thuddy, fully rounded kick tone sound out of our cajon. The next thing is talking about the snare tone. A lot of people think that to get a good snare tone, they have to just hit it as hard as possible. This isn't right. Hitting it hard can sometimes help, but more important is having that hand relaxed, kind of the same principle we just went over with the kick sound. To get a good snare tone, typically what I tell people to do is place their hand, kind of where their fingers go into their hand. They place those knuckles on top of the cajon and then let the fingers fold down. I'm going to do that one more time. You're focusing on this part right here. You're going to place it and then fold the fingers down. Now cajon to cajon, you're going to discover that some of them sound really good on the edge, some sound good towards the very corner, and others as you drift towards the center will get you the desired sound you want. One important thing to understand before I go further, everyone's hands are different. Some of you will have hands bigger than mine, others smaller, some skinnier fingers, some wider fingers. So as you approach playing cajon and trying to get the good tones, understand that if your hand is in a slightly different place than mine, you'll probably get a better tone just because everyone's hands are different. Just wanted to share that. Now moving forward, I'm going to play 3 different snare tones that I talked about. Some on the very side, I talked about the corner, and then the top. So here are the 3. As you can tell, there are distinct differences between the 3. The first one is more of a kind of almost like cross stick sound. The second, you get kind of a punchy, kind of 14 by 5.5 snare tone. And then the last one has that deeper, almost like a 14 by 6.5 deep, or even deeper depending on the effect put on the cajon from the microphone. So now we're going to talk about how to practice these tones, and then also working on just our precision and groovability with the cajon. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play an 8th note groove with cajon. Our left hand is going to just be playing the ands. The right hand is going to be playing the kick tone and the snare tone, because I want you guys to have the ability with that right hand to go from zone to zone with precision, getting the exact same tone every time. So we're going to go kick on 1 and 3. The snare will be on 2 and 4. Here's how that sounds. I'm stressing the importance today of kick and snare tones on the cajon because these are our 2 most used and important tones. As you work through these grooves, they're probably going to be very easy for you to play. That's not why we're doing this. We're doing this to make sure that the tones you're getting are very consistent and all the way through do not lack at all. You're going to have that nice punch from both hits that you would get on a drum set. So the next thing we can do, after you feel like, okay, I can go between the playing zones and I'm getting a consistent tone, great. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. The kick is still going to be on 1 and 3. The snare is going to still be on 2 and 4. And we're going to just alternate that left hand up in this left corner of the cajon. So here's how that sounds. And it's important to mention that I'm alternating my right and left hand at the top of the cajon, only moving my right hand to play the kick on 1 and 3, the snare tone on 2 and 4. Because again, we're not trying to play anything fancy. We're trying to simply get good tone. This is for those of you that have never played cajon before, and those of you that have been playing for a while. Time to revisit and make sure that all of our hits are sounding the way we want them to. All right, guys, that's it for the first installment of cajon lessons. If you have any questions or you want to get more of these lessons, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or you can leave a comment below.